What's up, YouTube? I'm Derek with Lost Alien Media, and today I'm going to be giving you my quick thoughts on VHS 99 with spoilers. So if you haven't yet seen the movie, please click out of this video. As I've said before in my previous videos, horror is my favorite genre of cinema of all time, and found footage movies is one of my favorite subgenres of horror. When done right, the key phrase being when done right. I think the format, the medium of the found footage horror movie, that being, a handheld camera, and the realism it adds to a horror movie evokes a more visceral reaction in regards to fright, to terror, to scares. When I'm watching a sci-fi movie or a fantasy movie or a drama movie, I want to see epic set designs and amazing CGI, really great choreographed, fight scenes, and all the magic you see in post-production. But in regards to horror movie, the sort of raw, realistic nature of the handheld camera format, it's almost like I'm sort of there right next to the person, from their POV to me, especially when it's something that's regarding the supernatural or the paranormal. I'm a sucker for that. To me, it's much more scary than a movie with great lighting and set designs in horror movies and stuff like that. Even though that's scary in its own right, to me, something about a found footage horror movie just, does it for me. With that being said, the VHS horror movies are my favorite found footage horror movies of all time, with the first one and the second one being my absolute favorites. Viral was trash, and 94 was solid, but after having watched Viral, anything was better than that, but still, the first two are my favorite. 94 was solid, and Viral was trash. So what did I think of 99? Meh. Yeah, it was okay. Luckily, I didn't know about this movie until the very last minute, so I wasn't like hyping myself up. So I didn't set myself up for like a major disappointment. So, and I would say that it's on the same par, just a notch below 94, because 94 had just this great segment that stands as one of my favorites of all time. And that's the mad professor with the biomechanics and the relentless gore. That segment was just awesome and one of my favorites of all time. So that's what, elevates 94 for me, in my opinion. So I'm just gonna go for 99. I'm gonna go through each segment individually and give my quick thoughts on those. So yeah, the first one is shredding. If you appreciate the 90s underground punk rock aesthetic, that sort of style, the frenetic camera moving, the shaky cam, the cutting, the in and out cutting with the static, then I think you'll appreciate, at the very least, appreciate the style of this first segment, even though the story is it's pretty basic to non-existent. A amateur band goes to this grave site of this band called Bitch Cat, where they were burned alive, and then they go there to conduct some sort of seance and end up resurrecting Bitch Cat in the form of flesh-eating zombies. And when you have a zombie movie, I think there's two things, a quota that you have to fill. The zombies have to look cool, and these zombies look basic as hell, like your standard zombies. And the kills have to be really, really creative and really awesome. And the kills here were none of those. In fact, the kills happened off screen. You see one guy get sucked out of frame, and then you see his blood and his guts drop to the floor. And there's the girl who got snatched out of screen, and then you see her torso get tossed on screen with blood and guts. So I mean, if you're gonna make a zombie movie, I mean, you gotta show the kills and you gotta be creative with the kills. And here everything happened off screen and the zombies looked really standard. So yeah, I mean, like, if you're gonna zero in on the gore, you gotta go all out with the kills, and that didn't happen. Also, the characters were obnoxious, so I didn't mind them dying. That's what makes the kills happening off screen more flagrant, because the characters were so obnoxious. And if the characters are obnoxious and you want them to die, you gotta see them die a slow, painful, brutal death. And yeah, there wasn't any of that. So I'm gonna give Shredding a D. On to the next one. Suicide Bid is about a college girl who's trying to get accepted into a sorority called the Suicide Bid, where she tries to pledge to this one major sorority, and if she gets rejected, then all the other sororities hear about it and won't accept her. And yeah, they visit a graveyard, and it's another group of obnoxious characters. Your classic Mean Girls, if you've ever seen that movie. Your cliche sorority girls. Her initiation is to be buried alive in a coffin, and I don't care what fraternity or what sorority you're trying to get accepted to, or I'm trying to get accepted to, I would never submit myself to being buried alive in a coffin in a graveyard in the middle of nowhere. But she desperately wants to be a part of the sorority, so she gets buried alive. And there's this urban legend of a previous initiation where a sorority buried this one girl named Guillotine. And the urban legend goes is that she was buried alive, and when they opened the coffin, I think a few hours later or a few days later, she was missing. She was gone, and legend has it she was taken away into the underworld. So then this new girl is in the coffin, buried alive, with the sorority girls above her mocking her and laughing at her. And as she's in the coffin, Guillotine comes to pay her a visit in the form of a skeleton/zombie. And that's pretty much it. She gets taken, and she takes out her revenge on the sorority girls by somehow for leaving her. So basically, because a cop comes to the graveyard, and they leave her in the coffin, and she gets taken away by Guillotine, and she, takes out her revenge on the sorority girls by burying them in the coffin and paying them a visit by killing them, I guess. And yeah, there's one part where, at the end, where she's where one of the sorority girls is, trapped in the coffin, and the girl in a ghost form or zombie form, takes out her revenge on her, and she looks pretty creepy. Yeah, but other than that, the story is pretty basic. Nothing really scary at all. Yeah, nothing really scary at all, except for the end when she's in the form of a ghost, I guess, taking out her revenge on the sorority girls. So yeah, obnoxious characters, again, basic story, and it was much creepier. It was not much creepier, but it was definitely creepier than Shredding. So I'm gonna give Suicide a C-. The third one, Ozzy's Dungeon, was ass juice, and I'm talking there's a guy literally crawling around in ass juice. It's basically about a game show host who's hosting a show back in the 90s. A girl breaks her leg, and for the first 5 minutes, I'm bored out of my mind watching this game show. Don't really know the point of it. There's no story behind it. It's just a game show. It takes a while to get going. She breaks her leg, And I guess the family takes out their revenge on the host for her breaking her leg by creating some sort of demented, haphazard form of the game show where the host has to crawl through shit, climb up a slide. There's a kiddie pool of just crap. And yeah, it was just straight up gross and grotesque. There's really no story to it at all. It was just, the acting was cringy and not very good. Yeah, and as I'm watching this, I just want to take a shower, get out of the shower, and take another shower because it was pretty disgusting. And I know there's not much of a semblance of a story in the other ones, but this one really had no story to it at all. It was just there to gross you out. And I did not know what I was watching throughout the whole thing. And towards the end, they pay a visit to the studio of the where the original game took place, the game show took place. I don't know why, the purpose of it. I kind of checked out through most of it. And then they pay a visit to Ozzy, who's this sort of Jabba the Hutt creature thing. And then a creature comes out of his belly like Alien and destroys them all. So, I mean, I really just don't know what the whole story was about and what the point of it was about. So yeah, I'm just going to give that one an F. And the next one is The Gawkers. This one had potential. I liked the setup. It had a sort of Disturbia element to it, where a group of teenagers are spying on their really hot neighbor. And throughout the whole segment, there's a lot of Easter eggs alluding to the time period, that being 1999. They touch on Y2K. They talk about bands of the 90s. I remember they mentioned Creed once. One of the boys is playing Resident Evil 2 on, his PlayStation. And then they're also on a computer from 1999. So there's a lot of nostalgia there. It definitely capitalizes on nostalgia. So if you were an adolescent during that time period, you'll get a warm little fuzzy feeling in your heart. But as for the story, yeah, like I said, a Disturbia element to it. They're spying on their neighbor. And for the first pretty much 75 to 80% of the movie, they're just running around doing teenage boy things, their shenanigans and things of that nature. And one of the boys gets his brother to set up a webcam in her house, in her room, to spy on her because they're horny, they're raging hormones and stuff of that nature. And they spy on her, and she turns out to be Medusa, which I saw coming a mile away. And I enjoyed the sort of the setup, sort of, of them running around doing teenage things, because that reminds me of my childhood to a degree. But when the revelation takes place of when she is Medusa, it goes from 0 to 100 real quick. Like, there's no building of suspense. It's like she's Medusa, she's revealed as Medusa, and then bam, she's there and she kills pretty much all of them. And Medusa is, her design is very CGI, which pretty much kills the whole thing for me. I think if they went the prosthetic route where they did makeup to her face and made her look truly terrifying, it would have been so much better. And if the terror slowly built, if you've seen the first VHS, there's the first segment with the succubus, where it's a similar sort of story to this, where there's a part where the guy's running away from the succubus and he breaks his leg, right? And there's a POV of the camera where he's on the stairs and you hear the succubus, and she looks terrifying, by the way, no CGI involved. And the succubus is sort of just, you can hear her crawling towards the guy and you see her peek her head through the frame. that sort of like you see her peek her head throughout the stairwell and crawl up to him. That to me is fucking terrifying because terror like slowly built. Whereas in this one, it was just like revelation, the reveal, boom, they're dead. And also she's CGI. But the characters here were sort of obnoxious, even though they reminded me of me and my friends to a certain extent. So I was glad to see them die. But yeah, I did enjoy the setup, the story, pretty basic, and the end was disappointing. I thought they could have done, they had potential, but I think it could have done much more better with this one. So I'm going to give this one a C+. And the next one is To Hell and Back. My favorite of the entire movie. This one was a lot of fun. It's about these two guys who are conducting a ritual to summon a demon, I believe. And in the beginning, you do see the demon like behind the TV. That was pretty creepy. and while they're when they summon this demon, they accidentally get sucked into this demon's world. And here in this world, which is hell, I believe, all the creatures are prosthetics, no CGI involved, and all the creatures here look like something out of Silent Hill or a Clive Barker film, all prosthetics, which is, to me, is so much better than CGI. And there's this one creature in the beginning, this winged creature that they see in the beginning, standing on top of a rock, like eating something. They could have utilized them so much more and so much better. He's only in the beginning and at the very end. I thought they should have focused on him and the two guys more, the two main characters, but they didn't. He was really only in it in the beginning and the end because I thought was pretty creepy and terrifying looking. And yeah, I enjoyed. And these two characters were actually likable. I enjoyed their dynamic, their banter. They seemed like real, genuine friends. Like they had a genuine connection. And they befriend this sort of woman who seems like she's been trapped there forever. And that sort of whole dynamic is really cool. And they're just navigating hell, pretty much. Trying to get back to their world. And coming across these creatures in doing so. And you also see this big, huge winged demon who's as big as the mountains, pretty much in the sky. That was a pretty nice touch. It's like if you ever been to like a haunted house during Halloween, or Knott's Scary Farm, or the Queen Mary. It reminds you of like one of those mazes that you're with along with your friends. You know, with the creatures all dressed up and stuff like that. I really enjoyed this one. This was a lot of fun. I enjoyed the characters' dynamic. They were likable characters. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and give this one a B. And yeah, that's my thoughts on VHS. I thought To Hell and Back was the best one. The Gawkers was the second best one. Suicide Bid third, Shredding was fourth, and Ozzy's Dungeon, which was fucking terrible, I think is one of my least favorite segments out of the whole VHS segments, the VHS movies. It was the worst in my opinion. So yeah, overall, I put VHS 99 on the same level, no, above Viral but below 94. To me, VHS and VHS 2 still reign supreme. And yeah, that's about it. I'm looking forward to 85 that comes out next year. And yeah, thanks for watching my review on VHS 99. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel. Derek out.